Hi folks, it's Gregory here, not only Code. This week I'm excited to show you a new project that I've been working on about getting a new job. I think this is an extremely important topic and even more right now during the pandemic. In order to provide you with some insider knowledge and to give you some really solid advice, I've teamed up with Orange Quarter. Orange Quarter is a tech recruitment company based in Amsterdam and Berlin. And together we will lead you through the whole interview process, from application, through the coding exercise, through talking to HR, up to the salary negotiation and accepting the offer. In this first episode, I'm talking to Angus McIntosh, who is a principal recruiter at Orange Quarter, and we will be talking about ramping up your resume, working on your LinkedIn profile, and selecting which companies you should actually apply to. Let's do it. Hi Angus, thanks so much
Greg.
for coming.
How
let
are
me
you?
start. I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm good. It's
Yes.
a sunny Saturday in Amsterdam, so
Yes,
yeah, I'm doing well.
probably the last one this year.
Yes.
Okay, first question, right into the topic.
Yeah.
How is the market for developers, for data scientists right now in October 2020?
Yeah, in October 2020, I think it's okay. So I don't think it's as bad as we had suspected it might be when it was March or April, and we definitely saw a big dip in sort of April and May in the amounts of interviews we were getting. The summer is always sort of a weird time.
Oh yeah,
When
because of
everyone
the
is
holidays.
on holiday,
Yeah.
and people couldn't really go on holiday this year, but you know, people will still take time off and
Yeah, that's right.
go
Even
on
if they stay at home.
staycations and stuff. So, but now I think we're seeing a bit of a pickup. You know, companies are realizing the effect that it's had on their business. If it's positive or negative, they still have budget to spend before the end of the year. If they want to get budget for next year, also. So I think in general, we're quite optimistic. I think the amount of roles that we have on, whilst maybe not as high as it was this time last year,
All right.
we're still doing good
But
business.
you're busy. You
Yeah.
have something to do at work.
I'm definitely busy. We've been hiring recruiters for us as well, so you know we're still growing as a business ourselves. So
All right.
doing okay. Yeah.
So there is a chance that if I lose my job right now, I won't be unemployed for 6 months. I can find something. All right.
I think you'll be fine.
Have you noticed though that there are many more applicants per job right now? That it's much harder for people because there is tougher competition.
I think it's definitely harder. Yeah. So some people have lost their jobs, and so then they need to find new ones.
Yeah.
But I think there's also this secondary effect of instability. So if someone's in a company, you know, you would think it would make sense, don't leave if you have a job in a pandemic. But I think people are naturally also thinking, you know, okay, what if my company is in trouble, or you know, how is their business performing? Do they think, okay, should I find something that's more stable than this currently? So definitely there's been an influx of like talented people into the market, and that makes it sometimes easier for companies trying to hire someone. But then if you have also, you know, 500 people applying for the same job, then it can be very difficult as well.
If I'm a candidate that is looking for a job right now, either I was laid off or I'm thinking that, okay, my company might be affected, I want to find something new.
Yeah.
Where do I go first? Like, what is the best place to find job offers that are relevant, that are of higher quality?
Yeah, so I mean, we have a few sites which we would look at usually. So LinkedIn is probably the number one.
Oh yeah.
LinkedIn also now is like a Google of job ads these days.
Yeah.
I think so. It scrapes the web as well to put postings on, even if someone hasn't posted them on LinkedIn.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not sure if you knew this, but they do.
that's very interesting. I had no idea
So
that they do
we
it.
sometimes have old job postings which we've put online on
Yes.
other sites, which then turn up on LinkedIn. And we're like, okay, how did this
So that's
happen?
why sometimes they are like duplicates because they do not detect it. Very interesting. All right.
And then you have your classics like Indeed and Glassdoor and stuff. Development-wise, there's always Stack Overflow, GitHub. One which I really like is Angel.co,
Oh,
which
okay.
is purely for startups.
Yeah.
So that's a good place if you're looking for a startup job to.
Is it popular here in Netherlands? Do people use it?
I think so. I think there's a lot of companies who are on there.
All right, very interesting.
And it's mostly development related.
So now, if I go and see different job offers, often I see that the list of requirements has like 20 different positions.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, first, who are the people that can have experience with all this stuff? And second, okay, do I need to know all of it in order to apply? Or do I need to know 50%, like, at school just to pass the exam? Or what is how do I determine whether actually I have a chance of getting a job or not?
It's a very good question, and I think it's something that's improving over the years. People are paying more attention to attracting the right talent and having an employer brand. Why should I join you? So I think it's not happening as much. It's still happening. So I would say you also have to consider who's writing the job description. Sometimes it might be written by someone in HR who's not technical. Sometimes it might be written by a manager who puts in way too many technical details. So I would say, as a rule, generally, if you fit about like 60% of the requirements, it's worth applying if it's something that you obviously want to do.
All right.
There's an interesting gender thing with this as well, though, because men will typically apply for a job if they fit sort of 50 or 60% of the requirements, whereas women are more likely to apply if they fit like 80 or 90%. It's actually a really interesting topic now, and I think more companies there's like gender decoders which you can use, like there's one called Cap Matfield, which you can actually design so that your job postings are
different.
Yeah,
they
neutral.
look differently depending on
neutral.
candidate.
No, they're neutral.
Ah,
so
they're
they can
neutral.
apply for.
Okay.
And so I think my general would be about 60% roughly.
Okay.
But it's hard to know. Sometimes you just have to give it a shot, because if you like the sound of the product, and you do some I would always do some looking on LinkedIn at the kind of people who work there as well. So you'll see what kind of backgrounds the developers in the team might have, or who the manager would be for that team, for example. And then you can actually use the job description and then do some wider research to then see if it's something that you want to do.
Well, that's very interesting. I've never thought about it, but that's a good idea. Just see who else is there, and you can see that, okay, I actually kind of fit the profile. So even if I don't fulfill all the requirements, I can get a shot.
One thing with that, though, is that there's like an easy apply option on LinkedIn where you can just click easy apply. So I know a lot of people do that these days. So
should I use it? Is it a good feature?
I don't know as much, because I'm on the external side more than the internal side of seeing this coming, but it depends a lot on the role. If you see that, you can see on LinkedIn how many people have applied. So if there's 300 people who have applied and you like the role and you want to do it, maybe it's worth taking a bit more time to fill out the sections which are your motivations, or writing a cover letter or something like that.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the difference between applying through an external agency like Orange Quarter that you work for and directly to the company. So I've seen, there are different opinions. People sometimes say that it's better to apply directly because the company, when you talk directly to them, they know everything, while the external recruiters need to ask some things. They don't know everything. But on the other hand, there is a lot of value that you provide because you mediate, for example, in the negotiation. You can help the candidate to craft some resume or cover letter better, etc. How would you compare these two things? Of course, we know that you will be biased.
Completely biased.
Yes.
I would say, look, we had a lot of value in terms of the whole process. So we really try to understand what your feedback is after each interview. We'll prepare you for interviews. Obviously, as you said, we'll at the start we'll go through CVs and how are we going to get you an interview in the first place. And then at that point, we're always checking with our clients. Okay, this is Greg's feedback. He enjoyed this, but he didn't enjoy this. And then the client can then say, okay, we can work on this part that he didn't enjoy. And then so that way for us, it's actually just quite transparent and clear. And then we can actually know if it's a good match or not.
Yes.
So we're not really in the business of like forcing people into doing stuff that they don't want to do. So that way, by going into so much detail, we can really understand like what your motivations are. Like, does that match with the company? is there stuff that you can work on? Sometimes you don't do amazing in an interview.
Yeah.
You might have been nervous or didn't sleep the previous night or something.
Yes.
So these are all factors which we can explain and we can come into it. And the other main thing with that, I would say as well, is speed. So sometimes if you're applying to a company directly, it takes a long time to hear back. That's for various reasons. It could be that, a manager is on holiday, or it could be they've had 200 applications or something. But from our experience, candidates, if they're interviewing with 3 or 4 or 5 places, the speed that a company makes decisions at is sometimes a deciding factor in terms of where they actually go. So I think like that's something that we can impact a lot quite as well. So I think that's a benefit for us. But as you say, like going internally, like, you speak to an internal recruiter first, or someone in HR, they know the culture of the company, they know the manager well, they sit with them and have coffees every day and stuff. So there are benefits to that way. But I mean, as you say, I'm biased because I think we had a lot of value to the process.
Okay, let's talk now about the application. So the first step is usually I need to fill my name and attach my resume. Resume is such a broad topic that we could spend the whole day talking about it. But let's talk about from perspective of Europe, of course, because this is where we work and there are different cultural differences between countries and continents. What should I put in my resume? What shouldn't I put in my resume? And is it true or is it common that it has to be one page?
I don't think it has to just be one page. Some people do choose to have like a 1-pager and a 2 or 3-pager. So which they could do like an easy apply to something with their 1-pager, which is more general. I personally don't mind if it's 2 or 3 pages.
Right.
It depends on the amount of experience you have.
Of
so
course.
If you have 10 years experience, you're going to have more stuff to put on there. If you don't have as much experience, by all means make it 1 page. But I think that then the what's in it and the layout and the format becomes more important. Always have a summary at the top, or like an about section where you describe yourself, your mission, your goals, and like with a sentence about your experience in it. So you would say, I'm an experienced software engineering manager who's led teams in scale-ups in Amsterdam, and I have a background in PHP and Python, and I'm looking for my next role to lead high performing teams in in a certain domain or something. So
this should be how long should it be?
I
It
generally
cannot
say
take half a page, right? That's a cover
I
letter.
would say about like 80, 100 words.
Okay.
So about like 3 or 4 or 5 sentences.
Okay.
So not long.
I've had similar experience. I've seen people saying that this objective or profile, however you call it, that people ignore it. But when I was hiring, this was the first thing that I read, because that was a summary of the resume, right? And then sometimes I knew that someone just doesn't fit the profile immediately. And what's next?
What's next? I think if you're in a technical role, I think it's important to actually have your key skills, like just underneath that, even if it's just in a small table. Don't make it a page long. It's too much. But yeah, and you don't need to name the number of years you've been doing something for necessarily either. But yeah, just put like backend languages, frameworks, cloud platforms, DevOps tooling, whatever. Keep it fairly short, because people do look at keywords and buzzwords.
That's true.
So sometimes it does help to have that in there, and then go with your work experience after that.
Should I put the level of knowledge, let's say AWS 5 out of 5, Kubernetes 3 out of 5? Does it help or does it make a wrong impression?
I don't think it necessarily makes a wrong impression, but it's just funny to see like how some people rate themselves.
Yeah.
So like I've seen people with 1 year of experience saying I'm 5 out of 5 in Python.
Oh, I've seen the same.
And then
yes.
I'm like, okay, you have 1 year. Like, are you
Exactly.
the experts? Are you Guido van Rossum?
Yes. Yes.
I think until you're a senior, it's best to not do that.
Okay.
I would say, and then if you're a senior, then you can start to say, okay, this is definitely where I'm more skilled
stronger,
with, or if something's 1 or 2 out of 5, you've probably only been using it for 6 months or a year, and you've been using something else for 5 years. That's often quite good in like a sidebar.
Yes.
To do. So if you have like a chunk of your, where your work experience in your section is, and then in the sidebar you have your contact details and key skills and stuff like that.
Okay, and now experience. So I guess we start from the latest, not from the first job.
Yeah.
We put the role, the dates. Should we put the month or day or just a year? Does it make any difference?
Month and year.
Month and year.
Month and year, definitely, because sometimes you see 2018 to 2019 and...
It might have been just 2 months, right?
Yeah,
December to January.
It could be 2 months, it could be 2 years.
Yes, all right.
So yeah, have a clear title. I get sometimes even people to change the title than they officially had in their company because you do want to optimize it as a keyword sometimes.
All right.
So someone might be like a data specialist or something, but they were doing data engineering.
Okay.
So I say to people sometimes, put data engineer.
All right.
And they're like, well, I can't lie. I was a data specialist. That's the title I had. I'm like, you're not. Lying. This is the job that you had. You're just making it more obvious for people when they read your CV to understand who you are. And again, you got to consider your audience. Like, is the first person who's reading your CV, like I said, someone in HR who doesn't know the difference between a data specialist and a data engineer? Do they then reject you because you've said data specialist and they're looking for a data engineer? So have a clear title with the location beside it. In terms of how I like to set out the work experience, I would always have a sentence on what the company does. Yeah. Because something in that might speak to the hiring manager, the particular product that they worked on, or the particular, was it a startup? Do you look for someone else who's been in the startup, for example? So you could say like a high growth startup in the e-commerce fields in Amsterdam. Okay. And then those are keywords which will kind of trigger someone basically. Unless you work for a company that is known in the whole world, and like if you work for Netflix, you don't need to put like I guess that's true. But in Netflix, you might and then if it's a larger company like that, I would say then in the first sentence you want what you the team on, that you were in, the team you were in and the projects that you worked on. So keep it super short. That should only be one sentence, and then maybe 2 or 3 bullet points of like your key achievements or your key technologies used in this position. I quite like it when I see a technical CV where there's a sentence about what they were doing, a sentence about like the kind of the project they were on and the team they were in, and then a sentence of these were the technologies I was using. All right. Because when we were talking about key skills at the top, then you can see when people have used each skill in each position. Totally. So then if you've picked up, AWS in your last position, then you see, okay, they have 1 year. Yes. And then they have, 5 years of whatever else. And if you have, 5 positions, say, probably your most recent 2 should be the ones that have the most information on them. Oh yeah, and then just the older it gets, the less information you should have. It doesn't matter. Should you put positions that were completely irrelevant? It's a difficult question. I think that's something that's so personal to like a hiring manager to understand, because they might say this person has been working, since they were 15 and they must work really hard. Okay. Or they might say like, this is irrelevant. Why do I need this? Okay. So you can't really say, there's no good way here. Yeah, I think probably you don't need it. Yeah. But it depends on your seniority. Again, so if you have 2 years experience, definitely it's worth putting your internships and stuff on there. If you were on, the board of something in university, that stuff is still relevant because it's still recent. Okay. But if it starts to become, over 5 years ago, over 7 years ago, then it just doesn't matter anymore. Yeah, it's not as relevant. All right. Below experience, we put hobbies, education, other stuff. Yes. So education, definitely. You don't need to go into a lot of detail about what it was. If you've published more than like 2 academic papers, don't list them all. Okay. I don't think it does. It's not really relevant, to be honest. But you could have a line under your education that says published 12 academic papers in the field of this. But just say where you went, the time you went there, the degree it was. And if you have a particularly good GPA or something. If I never went to university, should I put high school there, or should I just skip the education section? I would probably I mean, you would have, I guess, some certifications from high school. So you could put like, I'm not sure what the equivalent is in the Netherlands, maybe like MBO or something. But you could put that there.
Okay.
I think it's good to at least show like where you went to school.
Yeah, okay.
Because it might be in a different country or it might be in the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't skip the education section because someone will probably ask you about it anyway. What I would say is if you have you see a job description that has masters on it, if you have a bachelor's, still apply anyway. So because a lot of the time this is an ideal thing to have and it's not an essential thing to have.
All right.
So it might be because the hiring manager has decided they want someone with that way of thinking, or it's like something that they do for every vacancy across the company. But the reality is it's not always necessary.
All right, especially if you have a couple years of experience, that just is much more important than your education.
Yeah, so don't be put off by that.
All right.
Some companies are very,
very
to the point on it, but they're not that many.
All right.
Yeah.
What else besides the education? Should I put some information like, I don't know, I like skateboarding or I like music?
Yeah, I love reading the hobbies section of people's CVs.
Really?
Yeah. So it's just interesting. Like it's your chance to actually show a little bit of personality.
Okay.
Don't put a lot of sentences in.
Yeah.
Have a bullet point or two. Most people just have one line at the end, which is like, I enjoy cycling, reading, long walks on the beach, playing the cello, or whatever. Someone the other day had bricolage.
Okay.
In there, I'm still not 100% sure what bricolage is. But it's something to do with like crafts, arts and crafts. Yeah, but it's
it's unusual
something
things that draws attention.
What you do, like I play Australian football, AFL, which is like completely random sport which no one's ever heard of. Yeah. But I would put that on there, and then someone would be like, okay, this person I think it's important to have interests outside of work, and you should show that you do have stuff as well.
All right.
Yeah.
And links to your website, to your, I don't know, blog, GitHub, Stack Overflow.
Yeah.
Should we always include it? Or?
I would say, in the contact information, you would probably have a link to your GitHub, maybe your LinkedIn, Stack Overflow, maybe not as important.
Okay.
I think, but yeah, GitHub definitely. We have companies who ask us for people's GitHubs.
Okay.
They like to look at them sometimes.
Okay.
And LinkedIn is one that they're probably going to go on anyway. So
yeah,
if you
that's
have a link,
true.
then it's good. And also with certain jobs, your side projects might put you above someone. So you both might have 3 years of experience, but you have side projects which you've been doing, in your spare time, learning new technologies, like getting certifications, like putting stuff on your GitHub. I think if you have like a small section on this, that's important. Or I see people putting on the certificates they've got, or sometimes even the conferences they've attended.
All right. I think that when it comes to GitHub or Stack Overflow, I like when I see the resume and I click on the link to Stack Overflow, if there is something relevant there, if someone gave a bunch of answers, that's definitely a plus. But if it's empty profile, like 0 answers, 0 questions, like why do you add something that says nothing about you?
Exactly.
Why did I click on that? The same with GitHub. Like if you add a GitHub profile, I think it should promote you, but it might work against you. If I see 0 contributions, then just don't put a GitHub there, because I expected something and now I see nothing there. What else should I put there? Should I put my photo?
I think if you have like a good professional photo, like you would on LinkedIn, for example, where it's good lighting and you look good and stuff, then it can't hurt. But in general, I think it's just another way for people to potentially negatively judge you.
Okay.
So I would like, if you're in any doubt, don't put a picture on.
Got it.
This is something that people can judge you on. Again, if you're going for a startup or a corporate, if you're in a suit in your picture, startups are not going to want to talk to you necessarily because you're wearing a suit.
All right.
Or you think you're looking professional, they think you look corporate.
Okay.
So it's also, again, think of your audience. Like, who are you trying to get a job with?
How about some personal details, like, I don't know, where you live, what is your nationality? Sometimes I've seen information whether someone was married or single. Does it matter, or should you just move it all out? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, married, irrelevant. Married or single, I think. You definitely have the location, the nationality you are. is good, I think, also because it helps some companies to see maybe if you need a visa or not.
Okay.
So if you're from outside the EU, then but you're in the Netherlands already, they might say, okay, you need the IND.
Yes.
And they might not be able to offer that, so then it kind of doesn't waste anyone's time.
Okay.
The languages you speak, any like volunteer experience is sometimes quite good. So if you've been someone who helps out on the side with like an NGO, or you're advising the board of someone, you know, you can put that on as well in like in your, say, like side projects.
You mentioned the tone of the resume. So you had told me about it before, and now you talked about the photo. But should you also, depending on where you apply, change the sentences, the language, the way you phrase things?
Read the job description of what you're applying for. You know, you're going to have to tailor your CV to the thing that you're applying for if you're very interested in it.
Yeah.
If you're less interested, then, you know, a lot of people just send their CV and it's fine. But if it's something that, you know, or if you're having difficulties getting interviews, you're going to need to try to change things up with your CV. So to have a tone, it could be more informal, it could be more formal, but try to copy the language a little bit of, you know, the style of how the job description is written. Because if you have a job description for a startup and it's like, yeah, in the morning we wake up, we have our coffee, then we open our laptop and it's kind of relaxed, then, you know, you can kind of show off that side of your personality in your CV.
And do you think that's a good idea to adjust the resume for every single company, or should you have like more, I know, more corporate resume, more startup resume, like 2 or 3 versions that you can choose depending on where you apply?
Yeah, it's difficult, because I think the best practice is that you should tailor your CV for each position that you apply to.
But it takes time.
But it takes time, and not everyone has that. And perhaps it's best to have like 2 or 3, which you could kind of very quickly edit. You know, some things on. One maybe even, as I said at the start, one pager which you could just send across to someone. You know, if a recruiter is like, I know this company, you're good for this role, you know, we can get you an interview. Maybe you just send them your 1 pager then, so it just has the basics. Or maybe you're applying directly to set yourself to something that you really want to do, so you have your 2 or 3 pager and you edit it more and then you apply.
Let's talk a bit about the cover letters. 'Cause that's another topic that is like, some people say that it just doesn't matter, that recruiters completely ignore it. And some people say that it can draw more attention, especially if few people send cover letters. Then recruiter will be like, okay, someone put more effort, let's have a look.
Again, I think both sides are right. I mean, I know a lot of people don't read cover letters. So sometimes they can be a bit of a waste of time. Don't spend 2 hours writing one, I would say, ever. I'd say if you do write a cover letter, it should be about, you know, 3 paragraphs long or something. So keep it short and direct, because it can help. I mean, I think we were talking earlier and you said, you know, when you see someone's put in this extra effort, it does help sometimes. And then people have a generic one, which then also defeats the point, because you're not necessarily being specific about the company.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yes,
and
totally.
I get sometimes which are like, oh, I'd love to work at Orange Quarter. You know, your company sounds great. And I'm like, okay, well, we're obviously a recruitment agency. We're working with clients, so you wouldn't be working for us. You know, you'd be working for someone else.
Okay, and now let's go to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is something that I guess developers have love-hate relationship with, because I ask a lot of people about it, and they say, okay, I found a job via LinkedIn. A lot of people find job via LinkedIn, but then a lot of people say, I hate it because I get so much spam, so many messages from recruiters that sometimes are of very low quality. Like they send me a position that's completely irrelevant to my experience. So can you talk a bit about LinkedIn from your perspective, as like how important it is as a tool to get a job and to find candidates also?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we've done trainings and workshops on this, so I spend half my life on LinkedIn. It feels like, but it's so important as a tool. You know, generally it's like your online CV. If someone Googles your name, I know I've Googled my own name, you've definitely Googled your own name, Greg.
Of course, yes.
It's the first thing that shows up. Generally a lot of the time is your So it's unavoidable, really. I mean, you could choose not to have it,
Yeah.
But even in our field, sometimes someone's like, yeah, I don't have LinkedIn, and people do look at you a little bit funny sometimes. So it's incredibly useful. Regarding the messages, it can be an annoying thing, I guess. So and I appreciate this. There's some low quality out there. So you know, people contacting you for Java jobs, and you've never done Java in your life ever.
Yeah.
Which happens too regularly, unfortunately. But I think like you have to look at it as you know, a positive thing ultimately, and you don't have to reply to everyone. You know, I think at the start of your career you get really excited. Someone's messaged me about a job on LinkedIn, like this is so cool. And then by the time you're getting, you know, 2 or 3 or 5 messages a day or whatever, then and you're like, this is rubbish.
Yes.
But if that annoys you, then just don't go on LinkedIn that
Often,
much, or just ignore you know, your messages, because you know, ultimately you'll it will be useful for you to find a job potentially in the future.
That's true. Yes.
I know a lot of people who only use it for that purpose. But yeah, 95% of recruiters are on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
112 million people have received an interview through LinkedIn.
Wow.
And yeah, it's just crazy.
I get a lot of messages, sometimes from recruiters, often from outsourcing companies, and sometimes they are really low effort, sometimes they're very annoying. But LinkedIn makes it easy to just click not interested.
Yeah.
I just always add like one sentence saying like, hey, maybe next time, because right now I'm very happy with my current job. I think that it helps to, you know, even have someone in your network, because if you ever look for a job, you post it, more people will see it. And it's always good to, you know, have a like more positive relationship with people. Even if they put low effort, just say, hey, thank you, I'm not interested.
You know, as you alluded to earlier, we're in the middle of a pandemic, and it's much harder for people to find jobs. You don't have recruiters messaging you as much, so it does swing to the other side at some point.
Yes.
You know, we've had a long time of you know, grow, and there's been this massive gap in skills and in development and the field. So, but at some point that might not be the case. So then, you know, I've definitely spoken to people who've never had to use a recruiter before, and then now they're kind of like having to do it, and they're like, how does this work? And,
and they previously ignored hundreds of recruiters. Now they're coming back asking what offers. Any best or worst practices about your LinkedIn profile? Something that I should definitely put there, something that I shouldn't put there?
If you're open to jobs, you can. There's a function on LinkedIn which you can say open to opportunities. You don't necessarily have to say in your title like, I'm looking.
Because recruiters will then see me on the list of candidates that they can contact.
Exactly. Sometimes it can be helpful, like if you're putting status out and it says, you know, I'm available, because people will like it and it gets shown to a wider network. The green open to work thing on the pictures at the moment, I'm not a big fan of that. I think it looks like a little bit desperate. Complete the whole LinkedIn though, because you should have, you know, a bunch of skills on there. People can endorse you for those. That plays a part. You should have, you know, all your work experiences on there. That plays a part. Do write something under them. Sometimes people just have, you know, data scientist at booking.com. And that's it. You know, put at least a couple of sentences on there. Your location should be up to date. Your title should be, you know, something that it depends if you're looking for a job or not. If you're looking for a job, it should really be in the area that you want to be in. So in your top headline title, you could be a data analyst, but you want to be a data scientist. So then I would say there, I'm a data scientist. Actually, because then you'll probably get contacted a bit more about those jobs. Otherwise, you'll just get people giving you data analyst jobs all the time. Have a good picture.
Like professional picture, not like Facebook style.
It makes so much difference.
Really?
Yeah. It's like,
it's the first thing that you notice, right? So
yeah, I was reading about this the other day, but it's literally someone's like 20 times more likely to look at your profile if you have like a professional picture. Yeah, it's crazy. And then someone's they're like 31 more times more likely to look at your profile if you have 5 relevant skills.
Oh wow.
So I would say, you know, if you don't have skills on your profile, then add, you know, 15 20 total roughly, and then you know,
that makes a difference, because more people will see it in the search results, more people will actually contact you if you're looking for a job.
Yeah, because if you think of LinkedIn as like job Google, then that's what it is. You want to be appearing higher up in search results. If I do a search for data engineers who know AWS in the Netherlands, 1,000 people turn up.
Yeah.
If your LinkedIn profile is empty and you don't have that many skills and everything else, it's going to be on page 100.
Got it.
If it's all filled up, if you have lots of connections, maybe if you comment on people's posts in groups or articles or whatever, then you're going to bump up to the top.
There is one topic that I want to also cover, which is, okay, so I apply to lots of companies and I never hear back. Now, first, why does it happen? Is it because they have thousands of applicants, or maybe they are just rude and they ignore people? And can I do something? Like, should I follow up after a couple of weeks, or should I just assume, okay, they're not interested, let's move on?
It's difficult. There's a volume thing in there as well. I mean, there's definitely people that I don't reply to sometimes. Because we just get so many messages and so many applications, so it is difficult, and it's hard to automate as well. If you're applying directly to a company, I feel like they should reply to you. So you're taking the time to apply. Always follow up. The amount of people who I know who send an application and then they're like, oh, never heard back. Like, did you do anything about it to actually, contact someone in there, send, HR an email?
Yeah.
Did you find someone on LinkedIn and send them a message in that company? These things do, as I said, it's a volume thing. Sometimes your application could be really good and it just slips through a crack or something, or someone was off sick for 2 days and then they've not gone through the applications for those days.
All right.
There's a lot of factors that come into it. So be proactive. I always, if someone sends me a second message, I'm like, this person, has something about them and they want to talk to me. So
all right.
even if I can't necessarily help at that point or something, then, I'll always take the time to reply.
It wasn't just a random message. It's someone actually remembers about it and they want to get in touch with you.
It's the same, I think, for developers and stuff on LinkedIn. Sometimes, you get a lot of templates which are automated and stuff, and you're like, oh, so annoying. But if someone actually has written you a personal message, maybe you ignored it, send them a second one, maybe then they say, okay, thanks, I appreciate you're trying, but I'm not interested.
Okay.
Or same for a company, they might say, okay, we don't have a position for you right now, but we like this attitude and we'll keep you on profile.
Yeah.
Always chase up.
All right, awesome. Yeah. Angus, thank you so much for the interview. I really appreciate your time. I think there's been really a lot of good advice. And we will have 3 more episodes in this series. We will be talking about different stages of the interviews up to offer negotiation with other guests. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Greg. It was great to be on here, and I hope the information is useful and that people can.
I'm absolutely sure that it's valuable.
Can get some value out of it.